Joseph, thanks for joining us. I just want to talk to you about the strengthening dollar and the weakening yuan. Do you believe that the tumbling yuan is more due to the fact that the dollar is going up, or is it more because of the Chinese economy going down?
Well, thank you for having me. It's a combination of both, and it's true around the world. If you look at all the currencies that trade against the dollar, which is primarily everything, the dollar's strength is universal right now. And it is primarily because of the U.S. Fed's insistence that it's going to raise rates to get inflation under control. No one else is taking such a hard line, no other central bank is taking such a hard line against inflation based on interest rate policy. So that's the main reason.
And how do you think the Chinese government feels about the yuan weakening against the dollar?
Well, the Chinese government, like everyone else, probably has a slightly schizophrenic view of this. It is, of course, good for exports, meaning Chinese exports, just like it's good for British exports, European exports, because it weakens the price of their exports, their goods around the world. On the other hand, it's much worse for domestic consumers and for domestic consumption, because almost all raw materials in the world are priced in dollars, meaning it costs more in the local currency, and any imported items into a country will cost much more for the local consumer for the same reason. So it's a difficult balancing act more than anything else.
But in the long term, it's dangerous, right? What if the peg breaks, right?
Yes. In the long term, I think a weak currency is dangerous for almost any economy because it means that capital is going to be more reluctant to enter that country because the returns are poor and they have to worry a great deal about repatriation of money. So I think in the long term, it's dangerous for the Chinese economy, as it is for almost any other economy that has a habitually weak currency.
The yuan is at $1 equals around 7 yuan right now.
Yeah.
Are we at a point where the Chinese government needs to be really concerned, or are we not there yet?
I don't think we're there yet. I think the Chinese government is concerned about the yuan and its effect on the economy, not so much on the exports, but on loans that are extended in the country, some of which may have to be paid in foreign currency, not really sure how many, and on the impact on their manufacturing process. It's going to make all of their goods that are produced more expensive. So that is a problem. It's also a problem that one of the other factors that's involved here is not simply the United States interest rates, but it's also the growing fear that the world is going to be headed into a pretty serious recession, partially because of the interest rate policies of many of the banks around the world, and partly because we're getting a residue and a hangover from the lockdowns and the damage that they inflicted on the world economy. If that comes to pass, you are seeing the currency effect now in that global markets always flee to the dollar. That also is behind the rise of the dollar. So that actually predicts more trouble for the Chinese economy.
So does that mean we're going to see the yuan weakening even more?
I think it's probably peaked for the moment because you also have the reversal, or at least the questioning of another major central bank in the world on its own policy, and that's the Bank of England. So I think you're going to see a more moderate approach, even in the United States, at least rhetorically, because the interest rate fears are one of the things that is driving both the US dollar higher and fear in the currency markets and in the financial markets.
Do you think China has enough reserves to keep the peg going?
I think they do. I don't think China has any problem about reserves. That's probably another reason why they're not terribly worried and they're not really making a lot of rhetorical interventions in the market, because if it came to it, I think they could handle it as far as the currency reserves go.
All right. Thank you very much, Joseph Trevisani, FX Street. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a good day.